What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to review Metal Hellsinger. Now, the publishers of this game did provide me a code for it, but obviously, as you know, that's not going to stop me from saying anything that I'm about to. Nobody can really keep my mouth shut. But with that being said, I really did overall like this game. I think it kind of grew on me over time. I played this in 2 days back-to-back, and I'll explain the length of time because I do think that's the biggest weakness of this game. But over time, I think the game actually is really solid. The issues are the length, is a little bit of the repetitiveness of this game, and ultimately the price, if you do buy it, if you buy it full price, for the value you're getting. But again, we'll get there. The positives of this game is I think it's actually really, really fun. So obviously this game is like Doom, but it's pretty different. And the main difference is that you're trying to match the beat of each song, and each level in the game has a different song that you're playing, I guess, shooting to. And as you go through it, you're trying to match every single one. And when you do, you gain extra, your shots are worth more, they're more powerful. If you don't, they're pretty darn weak. Now, it's a risk-reward strategy because I actually got into the rhythm rather quickly, even though I'm not a big heavy metal fan. These songs are very heavy metal. I think they are going to appeal to people that are into that genre of music. But what I will say is, unless you're violently opposed to it, if you're like me and just don't really care about it, I think you'll be fine. I actually do think some of the songs are quite catchy. They're actually quite good. And then there is I would say a reoccurring beat slash song that's playing. It's in the main menu. It's in the beginning of the levels. It's in between when you're going from basically stages to stages in the levels. There's a kind of a constant looping song. That song's actually pretty good as well. So the music doesn't get in the way. I guess that's the biggest thing. It doesn't get in the way, and it could actually be a major benefit if you like it. And in fact, even against somebody like me, I was kind of tapping along because that's what you kind of have to do. I was tapping along to the songs as you're going on in the game. So there's different weapons, and they all have different things. There's a shotgun-like weapon. There's dual-wielding pistols. There's a crossbow, which is kind of like a grenade launcher or rocket launcher. And they each do, different things to the enemies. And again, you're trying to match the beat of the song. And some songs are a little bit faster, so some levels you can shoot faster, and some levels you shoot slower. Again, this really actually grew on me. There was only a few times that I really feel like your brain can kind of get crosswired. You can almost have a seizure while playing this game because if you miss one, right? If you miss one thing, it may be difficult to get back in the rhythm. Now, for me, it only happened majorly 2 times where I messed up and I really could not find my rhythm. Luckily, it didn't happen in a boss fight. It happened just in a normal area, so I didn't die or anything. But it can be frustrating because there's, the bars, you can see it in my gameplay, right? There's, it takes up room on the screen. You're not just looking at the enemies. And actually, I find that quite interesting that it's so different from Doom in that way, where you're dodging, right? There's the fast kind of glides, you're jumping, you're shooting, you're constantly moving. You do have to constantly move or the enemies will kill you. And at the same time, though, you have to watch, or I guess you could listen to it. Oftentimes I was just in my head counting 1, 2, 3, 4, and I would just count along to whatever the beat was. But other times I was watching the kind of arrows line up. And that can be a little bit distracting. And is that a weakness to the game? I honestly don't think it is. I almost think it's more of a challenge because you have to focus on that while you're dealing with all the enemies. So that's the biggest, and why am I spending so much time on it? Well, to be honest, that's the biggest thing with this game. It really is. The weapons are pretty cool, and there's enough of them, and they introduce them in each level. Another level, you get a new weapon, but eventually you'll stop gaining weapons, and you just have what you have. So there's not too much there. The levels, in terms of repetitiveness, again, they do add enemies as the levels go on, but eventually the enemy variety also stops. There's really not too many enemies in this game. There's probably 7 to 9. Maybe that's a normal amount. It kind of felt a little repetitive towards the end of the game. The boss fights, you're facing the same boss each time, but they have somewhat different moves, and it's in a different arena, which changes up how you're going to battle them, including the final boss fight, by the way, which is actually super cool, and it's actually a very different boss variant. So I liked it. I definitely liked the overall gameplay loop. It felt kind of sharp. It felt, I guess, pleasing when you're able to pull it off. If you can get the high, multiplier, at the top, and you can hold it and you're killing enemies and all that stuff, it can feel really good. There's leaderboards at the end, so there is a sense of you want to do it as good as you can. You also want to beat the level as fast as you can, because that's kind of a bonus. You'll get bonus points. You want to take as least damage as you can, because that's a negative that'll subtract from your total at the end. And honestly, I didn't even know that was in this game, that there's leaderboards and they're keeping track of your points throughout the entire thing. But that was fun. That was a good way of keeping it engaged. The story's okay. It builds. I wouldn't say it was like that grabbing, to be flat out honest, especially the first half. Once you get, it's not bad. I like the art style quite a bit. I like the voice acting quite a bit. Both of those are good. It's just the story isn't all too much engaging. It's a very simple premise, basically, of losing your singing voice, and you're trying to get a bit. I mean, that's really the whole point of the game. And, you know, again, as the game goes on, towards the second half of the game, I think the story does get a lot better. But going into the negatives has to be the value, and this is, of course, subject to the individual. So this is literally to you, the person watching the video right now. How much is, and I'm asking, how much is $40 worth to you? Because that's how much this game is at full price. And the game took, this is no joke, I counted, I recorded the entire thing, took me under 3 hours, around 2 hours and 50 minutes to beat the entire game. There's, I believe, 9 missions plus a tutorial, or maybe there's 9 counting a tutorial. And again, they're each different levels. They'll each, you know, kind of build on each other, and that's it. Like, there's those 9. Now, the trick is, again, 3 hours per 9 levels. You can also go back, and there's challenges for each of them where you will replay them, but there's some sort of restriction on you. Maybe the game picks the guns for you, maybe the game, you know, stuff like that, or the time trials where you have to do it under a certain speed. So there's opportunities to go back in and replay. I'll be flat out honest, for how I play games, I really don't care about those kind of things. I play the story. It depends on the game, right? Sometimes I will go back for challenges, sometimes I won't. I did it, you know, a little bit for this game for like review purposes, but there's not a lot of things to keep me personally going back in this game. So really, it's a 3-hour game. You know, you could stretch it. I'm sure it could be a 5-6 hour game if you go back. I played it on medium. There's 3 difficulties. I played on the middle one, which was challenging. You know, I definitely had to have some sort of skill. I did die a couple times, but there's respawns in the level. It only lets you respawn a certain amount of times. So, you know, I had fun. It was definitely engaging. It was definitely challenging. I can't even imagine the hardest difficulty. That would definitely be a challenge. So I'm sure there's ways of squeezing more time out of this game. But 3 hours for $40, that's up to you guys. Also, I won't spoil the ending, but this game blatantly sets up a sequel. Like, the olden games where they literally walk you into, through storytelling, they walk you into a sequel for the game. This game does that, which I was personally kind of shocked, and I'm sure there's different ways of looking at it. I mean, you could maybe look at it as a positive, where it's like, oh, well, they're teasing DLC, but it's like, well, no, they kind of say, like, you're half done, and the other half is here, and you're about to go here to do this other half thing, and now go and do it. And that's literally what the game does. And I really don't know how to feel about that. Well, my gut tells me I'm not pleased with that. I'm not pleased with a 3-hour game telling me that you're halfway done with the story that they set up, and that you have to wait for the sequel to do the other half of the story. That doesn't come across all that great to me. But look, at the end of the day, this game is probably like a discount game for most people. I don't think most people are going to get a $40 game for 3 hours of gameplay. With that being said, it was 3 hours if you just do the story, right? Again, the other stuff can add on to it. You could play it again on a harder difficulty, and ultimately, the game is actually quite good. In my opinion, that's the biggest thing that I was kind of shocked on both ends. I was shocked how short the game was. Like, I couldn't believe the game was as short as it was. But I also was like, you know what? This is oddly fun, because I don't think the matching the rhythm is going to work for everybody, which I get, because if you want to kind of just like shoot your own way, right? You're dodging, you're like, oh, this is a good opportunity to shoot them in their back, and you shoot. Well, if you're not matching the beat, that shot really doesn't do almost anything. You know what I mean? So that can, I feel like, get very frustrating for people, because you basically have to play this game how the game wants you to play it, not how you want to play it, because it's not Doom. Right? It's something where you have to match the rhythm. That is the most important part, and you're really going to have a tough time in this game. In fact, I don't even know how you would do it if you're not matching the rhythm, because you do maybe you do like 20% the damage if you're not matching versus if you do match. That's a huge difference, and you're not going to make much progress if you're not matching the rhythm. So that's really the only weakness that I don't think is a weakness, because I actually liked it and I found myself like going along with it. My finger was like just pounding away to the beat. My finger was actually getting tired, my trigger finger, but that was kind of fun. Like it's a weird mechanic that I think honestly works for a Doom-esque kind of game. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure you guys are subscribed, bell icon turned on. If there's any questions, I can definitely answer them. If I didn't get to something, you guys have any questions about the game, let me know. If you want to follow me anywhere else, all my social media is in the description below as well. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you all on the next one.